I'm like, what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? Live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'ma live it, I'ma live it to death. So what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? And live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'ma live it, I'ma live it to death. Yeah.
All right, what's up, everybody? Jamie Chirio here, Living Hope Agency Call. I've got a special guest here tonight, one of my really good friends in the business, Mr. Isaiah Tademy of FFL Elevate. How we doing, Isaiah?
What's up, bro? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay, man. So, dude, I like you a lot more lately because of your name. We're naming our next son Isaiah, which is awesome. He's coming in like 2 weeks, so we're excited for that. So we'll just pretend we named him after you. But we're excited, man. So thanks so much for joining us. Dude, tell us a little bit about your background and your story, you know, how you got here, any insurance background. I know you were, you know, an athlete growing up, but just tell us a little bit about yourself for anybody here who doesn't know you.
Yeah, man. Dude, first thing I want to say is your setup is crazy, bro. Like, you know, the whole podcast room there, the room you're sitting in, and even like the intro getting started, the countdown, I was like, man, this is awesome. Like, if you guys aren't fired up, I don't know if you have a pulse, but a little bit about me, dude. So, oh man, this is my 4th year going into Family First Life. It's been a journey, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot more ups than downs, that's for sure. But before Family First Life, you know, I grew up a student athlete. That was basically my whole life. I played basketball. It's all I knew. You know, I had a dream of when I was a younger child that I was going to be a professional basketball player. I ended up going to the college level, got my school paid for at a scholarship. So that was great. Got my education. And I had 2 routes. You know, I had to either, you know, I was looking at playing professionally over in Europe. I wasn't quite good enough to play in the NBA, and actually not even close to being good enough to do that, or start a career. And I had a lot of friends that played over in Europe. And, you know, the crazy thing about sports is, like, when you're 35, like, you're old, you know what I mean? So I had a lot of friends that were, you know, hitting that age, and they're making, you know, 70, 80, 90, 100 grand a year overseas. And they come back to the States, and now they're trying to get a job day one with no experience at 35 years old. And I was like, I'm not good enough to play in the NBA. So, and I definitely do not want to take that route. So that's when I decided to just kind of start my career. It was a huge adjustment for me. It was really hard because, again, I mean, all I did was play basketball and train every single day. So it was quite an adjustment for me. But so I've been a really competitive guy my whole life, you know. So I kind of worked the corporate world, and I moved up there pretty quickly. And you know, I remember this day, we all went out for lunch one day, me and a bunch of coworkers, and some of my coworkers were drinking, and they got a little bit tipsy, and a lot of them were like sharing how much their salary was. And I was one of the top performers there at the company I was working at. And these guys' salaries were way more than mine. And I was like, what? Like, I'm bringing in way more revenue than all of these people here, and they're getting paid way more. It was just because of, you know, their tenure, right? They had more experience than me. So that really pissed me off. And that's when I started looking for jobs where I can, you know, get paid based off of my performance. And that's when I kind of stumbled across the insurance industry. And I met a guy at the gym that I was going to who was also in the insurance business. And he's been trying to recruit me for a long time. And I finally gave in. I was like, dude, you know what? I'll come shadow you for a couple days. If it turns out to be, you know, what I think it is, I'll work with you. And sure enough, I called in sick the next day at work, and I shadowed this guy for 2 days. And I saw him go out, and he made like 8 sales. And he made more in those 2 days than I made in like the whole month at my corporate job. And what the crazy thing about that is he was on a 50% like a 50% contract level. And I was like, this is freaking insane, right? So that's when I decided, I was like, you know what, this guy can do it. He's not like the sharpest dude in the world. I mean, if I do half of that, at least I'll make more money. So that's when I jumped all in, man. And that was a different company. And, you know, that company kind of, things went south there. And that's when, you know, we stumbled across Family First Life, and that was January 2019. And that started my journey here, dude.
I love it, man. So for someone who's looking at Family First Life right now, what was attractive about this opportunity to you? Obviously, you had been in another company. Like, what about that company versus this company was so attractive to you?
Um, well, when I was there, it was a different sales model, right? So we had low comp, but they gave us free leads, and the leads were absolutely atrocious. Though we were kind of, we were baiting and switching people into getting insurance, and I picked it up pretty well. I mean, I did okay there. I wasn't like the top guy or anything, but I always had this weird feeling like after I got sales, I didn't feel good about it because I felt like they weren't really expecting it. And I felt like I was kind of tricking people into getting insurance. And I was like, man, I can see the opportunity of this industry. I can see that this is something that can be really, really special. But there's gotta be a better way to do it. Like I'm sure out of all the millions and millions and millions of people out there, people want insurance. Not everyone is getting tricked into getting it. So that's when we were kind of looking around and we just stumbled across Family First Life. And I mean, the main thing that attracted me was leads. I was like, I have no problem spending money on leads if I can talk to people that want insurance. Like that was a breath of fresh air for me. I didn't even know about the comp until later. And then it was the comp. I was like, wait, you're gonna pay me double than what I'm getting paid right now to talk to people that want insurance? Dude, sign me up. I didn't even think twice. I jumped all in, man. So that's what attracted me, bro.
Perfect, man. Tell us about your journey as you first got it started. I mean, were you somebody who came out the gate swinging and just absolutely started crushing it? Were you someone who was kind of more of a slow burner?
Yeah, good question, man. So I was kind of a slow burner. Um, what's crazy is back then, when I look back, you look at, it was the FFL USA leaderboard,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And dude, if you were helping 20 families on that leaderboard, like you were like at the top of the leaderboard, and it was a big deal. Like, oh, he's a 20 family producer. It was a big deal. Things have changed big time now, but um, so I just had my eyes, like my goal set on that. I wasn't hitting that in the beginning. I remember, in the very beginning, like I wasn't even profitable my first 2 months. Like I went backwards, but I saw the vision. I did. I was like, if I can just figure this out, if I can get a little bit better, I can manage my money a little bit better. Like I feel like I can really blow this thing up. So I'm again, like I'm just a competitive guy, and I just kept pushing and kept pushing. And then I remember it was May. So I started in January, and things changed for me in May because May was the first month I helped 30 families. And that's when I never looked back, dude. The money was crazy, way crazier than anything else I've even come close to. And I felt good about what I was doing because I mean, I was 100% face to face then. So I was face to face at my last insurance company as well. But I felt so good because you guys have all experienced that when you sit down with the client and they're so grateful and they're giving you hugs. I was like, these people wanted it, and I'm getting paid like this. It was a breath of fresh air, dude. So yeah, that was May. Um, and I never really looked back after that. I didn't. I'll admit I've never hit Hall of Fame. I got really really close to it one year. I helped 380 families one year, but I never did hit excuse me, Hall of Fame. But I would say after my first year, I think year one at Family First Life, I helped 300 families my first year, and then year two was the year I did 380. But year two is when I was like, beginning of year two, I was like, I can show other people how to do this.
Yeah.
Like I felt confident enough to, want to be able to share this with everybody. And I mean, I'm still on fire about this business every day, but I was so on fire about this business. I was posting about it every single day, talking about all my success. So I recruited all of my warm market. Like I told everybody about what I do. And that's when I really started building a business, and I started treating it like a business. And I started getting staff, and then we started scaling. And fast forward now, I mean, last month we did over 2,000 families with about 190 agents.
It's insane. That's absolutely insane. And like to be able to build a business that does that type of revenue, I mean, I think I can say this. I mean, like 24 million in revenue in a year, that's insane, to be able to do that in 4 years. I mean, there's people who work their entire lives to be able to get to that level. So it's cool because, my background, I was in businesses where in order to do that kind of revenue, you didn't need 190 people on your team. You needed like 190,000 people on your team. It felt like, to be able to do that level of revenue, which is so cool. So for you right now, I mean, if you're, speaking to somebody on here who is a new agent who is, trying to decide if they should go all in. They're trying to figure out what their schedule should look like. They're trying to figure out what their lead flow should look like, what their discipline should look like. What advice can you give to somebody on how, because you have, a handful of Hall of Fame producers on your team, writing 300 families, 380. I mean, yeah, it sucks. It was that short, it's so close, but it's still a big deal. Like, you're not the person who is coming in and just, helping 5 families a month. You were out there in the trenches and you've sat on thousands of appointments, so you definitely have that experience. So, what encouragement could you give somebody here in regards to like the schedule, the discipline, the mindset, as they're first getting started here?
Yeah, for sure, man. So, what I like to tell people, I mean, you gotta really understand, what, and look at this, like, what do you want to accomplish with this opportunity here, right? Are you somebody that, wants to just kind of make a few extra bucks on the weekend? Are you someone who just kind of wants to do this part-time? Or are you somebody that really wants to scale this and change your families and, your family's families? And I mean, we're talking like generational wealth. I'm not even kidding, right? Do you want to accomplish that? My advice for everybody is if you're a brand new agent and you're first getting started here, something that helped me tremendously was having a running buddy or like an accountability partner. Okay. I had that when I first started here. I played basketball with one of my best friends. His name is Jordan. We started at Family First Life together. And not only did I had to prove this worked to myself, I had to prove it to him as well. And I had to be the guy that had to answer questions. And sometimes I didn't know the answers to the freaking questions. So I had to go find them. And that made me get better so much faster. So I would highly recommend that you have somebody that you can, you have some sort of running buddy, like an accountability partner, someone that you challenge every day. Hey, I've got 15 appointments booked. How many do you have? I've only got 13. Well, come on, let's go. Right? You need somebody like that to keep you moving. I think that's going to shorten the learning curve really fast. And I think you're going to get better really, really fast. Okay. If you do that. The second thing I would say is you need to get comfortable being uncomfortable. All right. This was really, really tough for me, guys. So, I've always kind of been, more kind of an introverted person. Not really super, super outgoing, but, and that kind of hurt me in the beginning because I was that guy, when I sat down with clients, when they told me, hey, Isaiah, this sounds great. You're a great guy and all, but just give us a few days to kind of think about this and we'll call you back. Okay. In my head, I knew what I should say, right? Because I've seen all the FFL videos. I've seen all the training. I was kind of scared, kind of nervous. And I'm like, okay, all right. I'll let you call me back. Right. So I had to overcome that, being willing to challenge my clients and challenge agents as well. Okay. The other, like, I struggled with that too in the beginning, like where I had agents that would tell me, hey, I feel like I'm doing everything that I can and it's just not working. Or the biggest thing that one of my biggest pet peeves is when, an agent calls you for help and you're coaching them and then they said, oh yeah, I did that already. And then I was the guy that was like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, it's a numbers game, right? Keep work. So I had to change my mindset with that. And I had to start challenging people and being super, super blunt and super honest and super transparent with people, even if it's something that they didn't want to hear. Like, guys, I've told multiple people to go get a job. I really have. And it was honesty and it was something that they needed to hear. Right. So being super, super honest, super transparent, getting uncomfortable, because there's going to be days, guys, where things are going to suck, right? You got to embrace the suck. I mean, you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. But the thing about, being a business owner, when you have a bad day, it's like you go backwards, you lose money, right? If you're putting money into your business, staff, leads, like you go backwards. So like, you have to keep your mindset tough, and you have to understand, you know, why you did this. So I always tell people is like, you always have to remember your why, because when things are going tough, you can always lean on that, right? Why did you join this business? Why did you decide to do this? Why did you quit your job to do this? You know, for me, it was, you know, I was, I mean, I have a lot of reasons. My family, I come from just kind of middle income, nothing great. We didn't grow up super poor, but my dad literally poured his entire life into me with sports. He took so much time off of work because, you know, we both had a dream together that I was going to be a professional athlete, and he sacrificed a lot of his life, you know, to help me get there, and I didn't do it, right? So what big why for me is I'm going to take care of dad because he took care of me, right? I want to get him a house. I want to take care of all his debt. I want to take care of him so he never has to worry about anything ever again. So that, yeah, all the time that he did put into me, you know, maybe didn't translate to basketball, but it translated to something else, and it was well worth his time. That's a why for me. That moves me. So on days where I go 0 for 8, when I go to bed at night, I'm like, I'm gonna wake up fired up tomorrow because I got to take care of my dad, right? So remember your why. Another why I've got is like, I want to control my time. I don't want to report to anybody, right? My last job, I remember there was a day I requested time off for work and I got denied. I couldn't even, he told me I couldn't take the time off. I'm like, what kind of BS is this? Like, I can't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to go back to that. So it's either I deal with, you know, 8 no-shows that day, or I go back to my old job and I can't control my time anymore. Right. So whatever your why is, I guess what I'm trying to say is always remember that. Okay. And always lean on it when, especially on the days where, you know, you feel like things aren't going right. The other thing that you guys want to do if you want to have a lot of success in this business fast is you got to get really good at selling. You do. Okay. There's people that don't sell, and that's okay. That's what I'm saying is do this really fast. The ones that don't sell, you can still build a business here if you don't sell, but it's the long way. You're taking the long route, right? If you want to do this the short way, you got to get out in the field. You got to go. I mean, whether you're doing virtual sales or in-home sales, you got to help 30 families a month. That's what I say. Bare minimum. You want to get to the point where you're consistently helping 30 families every month. For me, that was my sweet spot. Okay, because that gave me the time where I can invest in my team and spend time with the team, and I still had the cash flow that I needed to support my business. So 30, I mean, for me, because I'm not the greatest at sales, right? There's some people that can go out and they can help 40, 50 families only working 3 or 4 days a week. I'm not that good. So I've had a few months where I helped 40 and 50 families, but it took up so much of my time that I didn't have the time to invest in my team. So that's just my number, right? 30 families for me was kind of that sweet spot where I could still do both. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. One thing that you mentioned, you talked about how you had some hard conversations with people. You talked about how you had to be very blunt and direct. I think it's just so important for a new agent to understand that the criticism, like you have to open yourself up to getting feedback from somebody who's been there. Like nobody here is trying to be rude to you. No one's trying to belittle you because you're not learning it fast enough. Like we're trying to help you avoid the mistakes that we've made, because staying in those mistakes is painful. Like myself, Isaiah, many people on this call, we've had those weeks where we've gone 0 for 27. After we just went 17 for 18 the week before, and we're so confused about why did that happen? Like, did I forget how to sell life insurance? Like what's going on? We've been through those roller coasters. Like we've been, we've woken up to a big fat chargeback, and been like, what am I going to do? Am I out of business now? No. We've been through those things, and we can teach you and coach you how to keep a level mindset through those things. So like, I just encourage you to be open to, what somebody else has done before you. When I first came into this business, I'm sure it was the same for you, Isaiah. You just like in basketball, you like real early on, you're like, I'm going to get good at this. And like, how do I get good at this? I got to be a student of the game. So you're doing it all the time. You're shooting free throws. You're studying other people doing it. Like you're obsessed with it. So it's like, how could you imagine like getting good at this business if you don't get a little obsessed with it? Whether it be in your free time, rather than, watching Netflix, you're watching Andrew Taylor videos, you're watching Zach Tardowski videos, like Paul McLean, whatever those things are. Like the ones who have gotten a little bit obsessed with this business and they've gotten their life a little bit out of balance. I think that's also important. Like people go like, oh, I want to like have a balanced life. Like in order to find massive success, if you just want to find a little bit of success, you want to be like a part-time agent who helps, 50, 100 families a year, your life can be amazingly balanced and you can do, pretty well as long as you're a good steward of your commissions. If you're not a good steward of your commissions, 50 to 100 families is almost nothing. But if you are, great. But if you kind of have to live a life a little bit out of balance for a while to get good at this, until you can get to a point where you can kind of control your own schedule. You talked about the producers who they can go help, 40, 50 families in a week on, 2 or 3 days of production. Well, they earned that, they earned that through sweat equity. It's like, I tell people, like, they earn the right to only sell 2 days a week. Like when you can go and help 20 families in 2 days, you earn the right to sell 2 days a week as well. But when you're still trying to figure out how to help 6 families in a week, you haven't earned the right to do anything but, 4, 5, 6 days a week if you're going to be full-time in this business. So, I mean, just like in comparison to like how you were a student of the game in basketball to how you became a student of the game here, I mean, how, like, as that mindset from being an athlete, like helped you here?
How is being an athlete?
How is like the mindset of, I'm going to be a student of the game, like helped you here? And like, I guess what encouragement can you give to somebody else in regards to like them, like studying like the greats of their sport, and in our sport, that being life insurance, and like, who would you tell them to study?
Yeah, dude. I think you actually nailed that right on the head. You kind of have to get a little bit obsessed with this, right? I mean, not even a little bit. Like the ones who are doing really, really well, there is a point, I mean, even still today, I'm sure, where they're hyper obsessed with this business, right? I mean, I was the guy that was like up, I'm not even kidding, like up until 2 a.m. because I couldn't sleep, like watching YouTube videos. I was that guy. Every single moment I'm in the car driving, I'm listening to a podcast. My girl's like, hey, like, can we turn this off for a little bit? I'm like, hold on, babe. Like, I got to get this down. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you got to get obsessed with this, right? To differentiate yourself from, from being average. So, I mean, that's in sports, right? I was that guy after practice that stayed after practice, to stay after and shoot free throws or do, drills or whatever. But you got to do what you can to separate yourself, right? And I think that's how you do it, is just becoming hyper obsessed with this, just so you can shorten that learning curve, right?
What does like staying after practice in FFL look like? Like, what are the things that they should be working on? Like, if there's a couple of skills that you're like, if you spent all your time mastering these, like, you'd figure out selling.
Yeah. So for me, that was watching a lot of YouTube, man. It really was. I related really, really well to Paul McLean. And I love the way he delivers and the way he speaks. So I've watched every single Paul McLean video probably 20 times. I'm not even kidding. That's practicing your script as well. Like, so I would literally be in the mirror after I shower, and I would be in the mirror. My girl would be like, why do you take like hour-long showers? I'm like, hey, I'm in the shower for like 30 minutes. And then the other 30 minutes, I'm in the mirror, like practicing my presentation. Right. So it's just little things like that, man. I'm trying to think, like, yeah, dude, it was a ton of content. Find somebody that you can relate to, someone who's, a leader here at the company, or someone who just trains really, really well, someone you can relate to, and watch a lot of their stuff, practice their tonality, practice it on family, practice it on friends. But just yeah, man, dude, that's my answer to that, bro. That's what I did.
I love it. How was it for you, like learning how to like get on the phones and like take control? Was that something that was easy for you, that came easily, or is that something you kind of struggled with? You mentioned that like at the end of the appointment, you kind of let people push you around a little bit. If it was something that you struggled with, how did you, get to a point where you were confident in telling people what to do?
Are you talking about like on the phones when I'm setting appointments?
On the phone, appointment, present. I mean, Andrew Taylor, used to be afraid to turn off the TV, and then Sean's like, grab the remote and turn it off. Like, it's just like, how do you, there's people on here who they kind of just get pushed over. Like, how do you help someone develop the, hey, here's what we're going to do today mentality?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I for sure struggled with this, man. I didn't really struggle with it too much on the phones because I wasn't like in their face, so it didn't feel as bad if I was a little bit more dominant on the phone or taking control. But yeah, when I was sitting, and what's crazy is like I'm a tall guy too. Like I'm 6'6", pretty big guy, and like I was the one that was like intimidated, right? But it's just because I wasn't very confident in myself because all I knew was sports, really, right? And I just didn't really feel like I could be really, really good at this. But it just took repetition. It took repetition. But something that somebody told me, I can't, and I don't remember the exact stat. Maybe you do know, Jamie. But someone said if you sit down with a client, the likelihood of, and if you do not sell them, you don't help them out with a policy, the likelihood of them ever meeting with an insurance agent again drops by like, it was some crazy number, by like 70% or something crazy. And I had to just realize that in my head. And I was like, okay, what's the worst case scenario if I push? The worst case scenario is that they're going to say, hey, this doesn't make sense. Please leave. That's like literally worst case scenario. Like no one's going to die. Nothing's like, no one's going to get hurt. Right. So I had to just realize that, okay, that I can handle worst case scenario. But what's best case scenario? Best case scenario is I help them with a policy. I get paid. They're happy. Right. So I just had to there was a day where I was just like, I can't remember there was a day, dude, where I went, for like 17, not one day, but like a period of days. I went 0 for 17 appointments in a row without a sale. I call Zach Egan. He's my upline. I'm like, dude, another no sale. I don't know what is wrong with me. I'm doing something wrong. And he's just like, dude, you got to like challenge these people, man. Like give it all you got. Give every presentation, everything you've got. Every client deserves your best presentation because if you don't help them, they're never going to get helped. And that was the day where I almost just got pissed off. I'm just like, I am literally not leaving anymore until I get a freaking sale. I refuse. And that's just kind of when things change, dude. When I literally had, like, you almost have to get to the point where you get pissed off. Right. And that's when it changed for me, bro, is when I got pissed off at myself. I'm like, I'm freaking done dealing with this. And
100%.
yeah, man.
Absolutely. I mean, there's just like this relentless attitude that is developed. And like, of course, like we want to avoid all the objections at the end. Like we want to set the table so strongly that they just go grab their checkbook. Like, yeah, that's the dream. And the top producers who sat in 1,000 appointments. Yeah, that's how it goes most of the time. But at the end of the day, like when you're getting started, you're going to have to fight for some sales. And I'm not saying like you're trying to twist their arm and just in like some weird way, like psychologically manipulate them. Like you're willing to challenge them based on what they said. It's like, well, okay, Isaiah, I'm just a little bit confused here because at the beginning of the appointment, you said that you wanted to make sure that if you died, that your daughter was going to be okay. Is that just all of a sudden not important to you? And like some people, you're crawling in your skin, even hearing me say that. You're like, you would say that to a client. It's like, yeah, you have to. And that's the thing is I think that a lot of people, we just get afraid to challenge a client. And it's like, you find out in the beginning of whether it's the phone call or the appointment, you find out why they were looking for it. And like, you have to understand, like, I look at it as especially if I'm doing in-home, I called them and I booked the appointment. When I was booking the appointment, I said, hey, Isaiah, most people fill it out for XYZ reason. Is that what you were looking for or something different? They go, yeah, that's what I was looking for. Like that right there, that was the first close. Like they just said, yes, that's what I was looking for. So like now you get to the house and you knock and they let you in their front door. Like you just close them again. Hey, we're going to your kitchen table, like rather than your couch. They let you sit at the kitchen table. Like that's another yes. Hey, here's who I am. Here's what we're going to do today. And they agree to the process. That's another yes. And it's like the only reason that they don't buy is because we did some weird thing that made them feel some sales pressure. It made them feel just distrustworthy because you got weird. And that's why they're not, or you took it totally out of their budget and you made it about yourself and not about them. And, or you got rude with them when you were challenging them. Like at the end of the day, like you can be direct without like being rude to people. Like, yeah, I've had clients who they've just been rude to me and you dish it right back and you never get those sales. But at the end of the day, like being willing to challenge somebody, I think that's one of the most important things. And that's where top producers, they get the sales that you don't. You know, we talk about if there's 10 appointments, there's 3 of them that you're not going to close no matter what, no matter who you are, unless like you're Paul McLean or Sean. Then you've got 3 that as long as you show up, you're probably going to help as long as you're not weird. And then you've got those middle, like 4, 5, 6. That's where like all the skill comes in. That's where, you know, if you develop the setting of the table and the overcoming of the objections and the education of clients, like those middle ones come in. But like realistically, like if they're filling out the lead card and you do a decent enough job of setting the table, like you should be helping like 2 or 3 out of 10 of every family that you talk to. And then the top people, they've had more repetition. So of course their numbers are higher. So let's transition a little bit, Isaiah. You have had some just different mental shifts here, like over the last year. You know, you've gone out and you've sold at a high level. Your team absolutely exploded, and you kind of you've been super transparent and open with, you know, your journey with everybody, you know, so I'm sure you're not, you know, afraid to talk about anything, but like you went into, you know, you said that you've gone into more of like manager mode, trying to help people. And then now recently, you know, now you've realized the importance of like leading from the front, being in the field, like, you know, teaching your team. Like talk to us a little bit about that journey and just kind of like what it looked like going from, you know, selling to managing a big team to then realizing that like selling and leading from the front was something that was important for new agents.
Yeah, man, this was huge for me, bro. And yeah, I don't mind sharing at all. So, you know, when I started here, you know, my eyes and my vision was on, you know, 1,000 families a month, right? That was like the big number. And when we hit that, it was like almost like, all right, I made it. Now what? Right. And I wasn't in the field selling. I had, you know, multiple legs that are doing their thing that don't really need my help anymore. And, you know, I had some agents that would reach out to me and, you know, I started, one thing that I've talked about this on a call, Jamie, I think that's kind of what you were alluding to, right? So I had some people that were like reaching out to me and you know, really like negative, complaining a lot. And what I noticed was I stopped talking to new agents, and I kept dealing with, you know, the complainers. And over a course of time, the negativity started getting in my head, and it started messing with me a little bit. And I kind of went into like this weird funk. So this last year, you know, 2022 was by far my biggest year income wise. But it was probably my most challenging month mentally, because I went through quite a roller coaster. I went through a time of like, you know, now what, you know, got really close to, you know, an integrity partnership, and I'm not quite there yet. So I'm like, man, you know, so kind of dealing with that a little bit mentally. And so, you know, what I realized was like, I'm doing this all wrong. You know, I was kind of like the big boy that, you know, sat around and was like, now I'm a manager. I don't, you know, I'm too like, not good. I didn't think I was too good to be selling, but like, I just felt like I just didn't need to do it. Right.
Totally.
But the biggest thing for me was like, I wasn't talking to new agents. So that's when my mindset shifted, because I was like, all right, this is like my come to Jesus moment. How did I get here? I got to this point by getting scrappy, by getting dirty, by getting my hands dirty, by selling, by, you know, selling and helping new agents sell, and agents watching me try to sell, and I'm failing, and you know, I'm in the trenches with them. They can see everything happening, right? And that's when I realized, I'm like, I'm gonna go back to that, because this business is so much funner when you're doing that, right? It really is. This business is so much more enjoyable when, you know, you're talking to new agents, and you're trying to overcome, you know, objections still, like when you're battling, and you're trying to sell, and you're trying to beat other people in your agency and trying to beat them on the leaderboards. That's when it's fun. That's when it's competitive. And that's when I was having the most fun. So that's when I realized about midway through last year, I was like, I need to get back to that. And
Absolutely.
And that's when, dude, we really just started growing, because we plateaued for, geez, like 9 months, bro. we didn't grow at all. We were stuck in the same spot. And that's when I was kind of in this weird funk, like, you know, just really kind of just really negative. And I'm like, man, I need to get back to what I did to get us here. So I've been having a lot more fun, dude. Like I'm on Zoom, I'm on selling every day. The agency knows my schedule. We're on Zoom like this, like how you guys are. We have a great culture. We're having a ton of fun. We have new agents watching. You know, I'm coaching new agents, and dude, I mean, we're rolling now, man. So I guess what I want to say is like, you know, and Jamie, you even said this on a call once, or on my call, dude. You were like, if you do a really good job, you know, and you build good legs, you get to the point where like your phone actually should get more quiet, right? Because people think like as your agency grows, like you get so busy, you just have so much to manage that you don't have time for anything else. But if you do a good job, you know, building your team, your phone actually gets a little bit more quiet because, you know, they're calling their upliner, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I started to experience as well. It's like, man, how come no one's calling me? What's going on? Like the phone's kind of quiet right now. What's going on? Is everyone sleeping or right? So that's when I was like, dude, I'm gonna start a new leg. I'm going to VP in 90 days. I'm gonna try and hit, you know, 150 families, and I'm gonna lead this new agency from the front. I'm gonna be the #1 producer. And that's what I did in the beginning. That's what I'm gonna do now. And that's what keeps me fired up. That's what keeps me excited. So I've got a couple people I'm battling. We're battling each other on the leaderboards. I'm trying to beat them. And dude, it's just so much funner this way. And making way more money too. Like what, dude, when you're selling at a high level and you have that top comp 145, like, dude, that is nuts. It's crazy money. It's a lot of fun. So
There's nothing like an
nothing.
American Eagle at 145.
Whew,
It's the best.
it's different, bro.
And I've heard from so many people, dude, like Grady and I talk about it all the time. You know, he's a little bit more far removed as an integrity partner, but he's like, dude, I miss selling. I miss the hunt. I miss the blood in the water. Like I miss that feeling of coming back with, you know, a deer slung over my back. Like, hey, honey, look what I did today. It's like just this instant gratification. And, you know, it's a little bit different. Like you look at Trey Honeycutt says, you know, hey, you know, there's hunting and there's farming. You know, hunting will feed you faster and farming will feed you longer. They're both important. Hunting is selling, recruiting is farming. You're not going to see the results of your recruiting and you're building a team for 90, 120, 180 days. But you can get instant gratification in selling and then like teaching people how to sell. It's the whole, like you teach a man to fish, you teach a man to hunt. Like that's one of the coolest things in the world when you can take somebody who's like dependent on you and make them independent. And then now they're fully independent to go take care of their family. Like whether you ever talk to them again or not, they now have this incredible skill of like helping families with life insurance. And like their family's never gonna go hungry, which is like, as long as they're willing to work, you know, which is the caveat there. Cause like you can have this incredible skill set, but some people decide they don't want to work anymore and your family's going to go hungry if you stop working. But the ones who have this skill set that are willing to work, like no matter what happens, like the insurance industry isn't going anywhere. God willing, Family First Life's going to be here for our grandkids to go to the conventions. But like at the end of the day, like the insurance industry is going to be here and you could do this anywhere. Like this is the best place to do it. But like you now have a skill set that you could take away your entire business, but you still know how to sell insurance. Like every single person on your team, you know, God forbid, could just like one day start protesting Isaiah and go do something else. But like you still have that skill set and you could rebuild it all over again, which is such a powerful thing. You know, give me a stack of leads, take my whole business away, take all the income in my bank account away, except for like $2,000. Tell me my rent's due in a couple of weeks and say, are you paying your rent? Are you buying leads? I'm buying leads and I'm building this whole thing again because of the confidence that learning this skill set can give you. So it's powerful when you have that, when you can share that with somebody else. And you're right. It is so much more fun when you're doing it alongside people. And like, I mean, I've experienced it too, man. Yeah, I've tried to be consistent on a selling perspective. There's weeks where I tried out the whole manager thing and I was just kind of bored, to be honest. I'm like, I don't got enough people to talk to. Like, what am I going to do all day? So for me, like one of the best things to do is like Sean says, you got the smoke of battle on you. Hey, we're in the trenches together. And it's not, hey, you work for me. It's, hey, we're in this together. Like we're working together. We're in the trenches, selling insurance, helping families. And, you know, it's a huge blessing. So, why should anybody on this call who has not made the decision to go to Miami for our annual convention, why should they find a way? And what are they missing out on if they decide not to go?
Yeah. So I heard Paul McLean say this back when I first started. And it's kind of, I mean, you guys have probably heard the analogy, but it's so true. He said, if there was a suitcase that had a reserved spot and it had, you know, your name in the chair with a suitcase with $100,000 in the suitcase, and you knew it was there, would you book a flight to Miami to go get the suitcase? How many would do that? Yeah, I would too. Some people aren't raising their hands. All right, well, that's weird. That's what this is. It really is. Is, you know, you're gonna go to a convention. If you're brand new, okay, you can go to convention and learn the skill set to have a 6-figure income. I guarantee it. Okay. So guys, I mean, all the guest speakers that we have there are freaking phenomenal. It's, you know, all the top producers, the top managers, the top leaders in the entire company. Like this is the event that you do not miss. This convention absolutely changed my entire outlook on this business. I went to the one in 2019, and I remember there was a few, the biggest thing for me was like the people that were speaking on stage. You know, I learned a lot of good stuff as far as like sales and, you know, just one little thing that maybe tweaked my presentation. I was like, I love the way he says that, or I love the way she did this. Just little things that, you know, I took away. But the biggest takeaway for me was they're all just like really average people. Like some of them are introverts like me. Some of them, you know, are tall like me. Some of them are short. Some of them are, you know, I mean, everyone's different, but like, you know, if they can do it, why can't I do it? So it gave me the belief that I can really do this. So guys, if you're not going, I mean, if you plan on being in business this time next year, you definitely need to be there. If you, I mean, dude, I just can't say it enough, bro. It's like, this is the only event that you do not want to miss, for sure. So like, I mean, it's where we all kind of, you know, rub hands together and network and just meet people that are doing what you want to do. So
yeah. If you're having any problem right now in your business, if you have any question, if you have anything that's holding you back, that's what's going to be talked about at convention. That's going to be the thing that you can learn. You want to learn how to overcome any objection at any time and sell anybody anywhere. Miami, February 1st to the 4th. I mean, that's what's coming, guys. So Isaiah, man, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you on here, man. I'm excited to see what y'all do in 2023. To see you be, you know, one of the next integrity partners is going to be just an absolute pleasure. And obviously, you know, let's race to Hall of Fame, man. I know you got it in you, because I know, you know, you still haven't done it yet, but that'd be a great way to cap it off before you get into integrity, man. So let's
make a bet, bro.
First one there,
shaves their head.
First one's there. First one there. The other one shaves their head.
Oh, dude, I'm down for that. My head's
your head's already shaved. All right, we got to come up with something else. All right, the first one, we'll figure it out. We'll announce it to you guys.
We'll figure it out.
All right, guys, we appreciate you, Isaiah. Everybody have an amazing day, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Have a good night, guys. Peace out.
Appreciate you, bro. Later, guys.